The prosecution wants the charges to reflect the whole history of the wars in the former Yugoslavia. The enormous indictment puts the prosecution under pressure to present its case.
Do you want to put
49.
49?
If you've got 80,000 people being deported, how many witnesses do you need? The judges, it may be, only want or need enough evidence to enable them to make a conclusion that they're happy with. The victims want the story to be told.
Sorry to interrupt you. Why can't you present evidence from a half of that or a third of that?
The statistics show, and this is why we have in mind a time limit, a proposal to call over 1,000 witnesses. No trial can take place in those circumstances.
We have worked as hard as we can to meet a timetable that the entire prosecution team regards as unworkable. Be under no illusion, there is no way this case is lasting until October 2004. If you only prove one spot in Bosnia or one spot in Croatia, you never prove the widespread and systematic nature of the campaign, which is what these trials is about. We have recently, and quite specifically, effectively invited the judges to look at this and to indicate, have we got enough? Because there's no test. Is it 10 villages? Is it 4 municipalities? Or is it 1? I don't know. And if I put on too little, then the case fails. Right. Well, now 1,000 men approximately were killed in this site.
The bullet strikes that you see here on the wall opposite this door and the bullet strikes outside, multiple gunshot strikes right throughout the building, and they were directed in here, shooting these people. They also stood outside these windows and threw grenades in through the windows, which were used to kill the people. Some of the material on the wall here is human flesh and blood splattered from the bodies. This is not just filth. It's people.
As Dean's explained to you, there's all sorts of bits of forensic scientific evidence they were able to work on to prove without any doubt what happened here. The accused, of course, even challenges these details from time to time. If he does challenge these facts, we have all the forensic, scientific and other investigative materials but it takes quite a lot of time that's very limited. Perhaps that's why the accused is wasting our time making us prove it. Because the victims identified in the data sources were not the only victims of killings, it was necessary to estimate the number of undocumented victims to determine the overall estimate of total number killed. This figure, 10,356. So you're now going from your 4,400 reduced figure to calculate another figure by means of a widely used statistical technique known as multiple systems estimation, in terms that the layperson can understand. Please explain.
Multiple systems estimation uses the overlap among multiple projects to determine how many people fall outside the documentation of any of those projects. So, for example, there were 4,400 unique individuals reported by name to one or more of the 4 projects. There are some additional numbers of people who were not reported by name to any project. Our effort is to estimate that. Our idea is to look for the entire universe, which here I've labeled N. I want to know how many killings there are in total. Let us imagine 2 studies have been conducted. There are several possibilities about how those 2 studies might encounter each other in the world. Okay, by encounter, here I mean document the same deaths. They might overlap in some small quantity, they might not encounter each other at all, or one could subsume the other. The insight we use is that if we saw that the two systems did not overlap at all, the universe would be vast. The two systems would have gone into the field and never encountered each other. If, on the other hand, the two systems went into the field and documented essentially the same lists, we would assume that the universe is only a bit larger than the two projects. By measuring how much the projects have in common, we can use some mathematical insights, some mathematical formalization of the insight that I've suggested to make an inference, an estimate about the entire universe, which I've labeled here as N.
Identified Albanian victims are actually amounted to 1,912, and all analyses consistently apply the invented figure of 10,356. Can you explain that?
10,356 is not an invented figure. It's an estimated figure. The estimate is based on sound and well-known statistical principles that are in wide use throughout the world and have been subjected to both rigorous preparation and review.
Have you finished your explanation?
Yes?